First and foremost, we hope everybody's doing really well, all right? And what Dr. Balmanis and I want to do today, and there would have been a lot more lead up to this, obviously, if it weren't for the time delay. What we want to be able to do today is really get a chance to talk to you about a few things and get you started off right for the season, get you started off with the tools that you need, and a clear understanding of what's going to be your responsibility, okay, of being a leader within the MSK, right, and a leader within the organization. So it'll be in a couple parts, all right? Some of it's just going to be general leadership discussion and training and talk. Some of it's going to be specifically focused on what we do here at Rutgers in the MSK, and then culminating with just simply making sure we're ready for our first pre-camp rehearsal on Saturday. Sound good? All right? And we'll try to get breaks in as fast as we can and figure out why the hair is not working and all of that, okay? What I want to talk to you about are two things. I want to talk to you about the state of like the union right now, like where things are and what you're looking at as far as your band is concerned, okay, in our program. And then I want to talk about just some general good leadership qualities and things that we should all be thinking about as we're in that role, okay? And then we'll take a break, and then Dr. Balmanis has her part, and then we'll keep going from there, all right? So as far as our organization is concerned, you've seen it, okay? This will be by far, I'm going to argue to say historically ever, okay, the largest that the MSK has ever been. As of this morning, we stand at 354 members with 72 recruits who have still yet to report back if they're attending Rutgers, if they're doing band, what have you. Our retention rate is 92%. Okay, and most of the students who were unable to come back were because of just an unavoidable class conflict or a change in life kind of situation or school. So 92% is pretty incredible, all right? In addition to that, we will be a very large and new band. And new is a very exciting thing because new for all of us creates the potential for consistency down the road, all right? Rough numbers without my computer open is like 129 freshmen, I think, right? Like true freshmen. They're coming here for the first year. And when you add that together with a new member, that gets up to like 180. So maybe a third, fourth, fifth year student has doing it for the first time. So our true first time ever in the MSK is around 180. If you add first and second year members, okay, it's 275. I got excited, I thought that was the error. Maybe while I'm talking, you could call Chris and see some more. So 275 of 354, it'll only be their first or second year here, all right? Now, the exciting part is there's so much we can do with such a large group. There's so many things we can design and perform and make just incredible. Like take all the hard work that everybody's done up to this point and like catapult it. That's what's going to be amazing. You're going to be so happy once we get into it with how things are just progressing and moving forward. The sound, the look, okay, the image, everything that we are. With that comes great responsibility for all of us. The mantra is going to be this year for all of us, we're going to take it slow. Take it slow. If that means the first couple halftime shows are on the shorter side, that's great. Because we are not going to move so fast that new members feel overwhelmed. It's too much music in too short a time. It's too much guard choreography in too short a time. It's too many drill pages, right? So like, that's my thing, is that we're pulling the brake pedal a little bit and saying it's going to be about quality up front, not quantity. All right, and I'll explain a little bit like how the season's going to play out. But we want to make sure, first and foremost, whether a student's here for the first time, the fifth year, anything in between, we want them to feel like the pace at which we move is one that works towards progress. Like, we're going to work hard, don't get me wrong. But it's going to be responsible that we don't completely overwhelm our members. Because if they have a great experience this year, they'll come back. And if they have a great experience next year, they'll come back. And then this won't be a pipe dream of it's just because of one specific reason we're at 350. It'll be like, no, this is what we are, and this is where we will stay in this area moving forward. Between you and me, This was like part of my 5-year plan when I first got hired in 2017 I wasn't sure we'd ever get there after the pandemic, and now I'm starting year 7, and here we are. And that's a testament to you and everybody who's come before you as a leader, a member, a participant, whatever, right? Someone who's been part of this has had a little piece of the puzzle. Now here's the cool part. You get to decide where it goes. You get to decide, okay, well, what do we do with this incredible gift that we've been given, right? We've been given this great gift of an excited, large, productive organization. Where do we want to take it? Where do we want to go with it? And that's not on me. That's not on Dr. B. That's on all of us, right? It's a collective effort to, okay, we got here. Check. Now where do we go? Okay? So as we talk through this, it won't all be decided today or tomorrow, but it's going to be decided as we go through the season. Somebody tell me, and I hate to make, I'm not going to make it feel like class, but somebody tell me, here you are as a leader. If you had to say you want a member of the MSK by the end of the season to experience blank or feel blank, what might a goal be?
To experience community.
Okay, awesome. What else?
To feel passion.
Okay, great. Feel excited, passion.
Feel pride.
Awesome. Pride. What else?
Feel belonging.
Great. What else?
Feel fulfilled.
Excellent. Do you notice that none of those words, none of those descriptors, none of those goals had anything to do with how well you play your instrument, how good you spin, how good you drum? It's about the overall experience about being in this band, right? So if you think about it, you rose to this level because something must have clicked for you somewhere, whatever got you here, right? Somewhere, sometime, someone, something put a little spark in you that said, you know what? I really care about this place. I want to do just a little bit more. And your little bit more now can inspire someone else who hasn't quite had that spark yet. They don't even know, right? So why do I bring this up? The general concept of a great leader, in my humble opinion, is someone who leads by positive example and someone who truly believes in the organization that they're in and someone who truly values the spirit of community like you're all talking about right now. And it's actually really pretty simple. If you really truly love it and it really means something to you, 9 times out of 10, it's going to happen naturally just from the way that you are. Because you like being here, the band means something to you in a positive way, and there's something that, like, you're sitting in an un-air-conditioned room right now in the middle of July voluntarily because you want to do the right thing to help this place get better, right? Okay? So with all of that said, modeling behavior is the most important thing of a great leader. So like if you were just in street clothes and you were at the mall or out of state on vacation or whatever, and somebody met you and started talking to you about Rutgers, about the band, about what we do, they would know within 30 seconds what our organization is all about. That's Ricky. Okay? So anyone who wanted to get an idea of like, well, what is this group all about? They would know based on how you talk about what we do, how you emulate what we do, okay, and how you believe in what we do. Does that all make sense? Okay? All right. So with that said, this is my take, right? It takes forever to take something from, let me reverse it. It can go fairly quick to go from nothing to something. Then it takes a really long time to go from something to something that's incredibly great. And then when you're at something that's incredibly great and you're about to transition into the unknown, or where can we go, what is the next step, that's the most exciting time. Because we don't know what that is. And that's where we are right now. You get to set the trajectory, you get to set the goals, you get to set the markers, and you get to set the path. Now, with that, aside from great responsibility, comes the ebb and flow of being a great leader, okay? So you're going to have these moments of pure joy, happiness, pride, passion, euphoria. It's going to be great. And you're going to love every second of it. And they're going to be compounded by difficult, challenging, frustrating situations that will go along with it, okay? A great leader has got to understand from day one that there's a lot of awesome, but to get to the awesome, there's a lot of hard work. There's disappointment, there's frustration, there is challenge, okay? And we're going to talk to you today about how to navigate that, okay? Because one of the things, and I'm curious just by a show of hands, I'm going to keep myself on time. By a show of hands, how many of you, is this your first time where you will be dealing with a large group of people that are going to be looking to you for guidance? I'm just curious. Okay? So you've all dealt with a large group before. Okay. If you haven't, that's okay. All right? You're going to learn real quick. All right? All of our sections are just about, if not one, I think, is just one click shy of being double digits. Okay? So with that comes multiple personalities, multiple, I'm trying to choose my words carefully, multiple opinions, multiple viewpoints, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, when difficult decisions have to be made, or you're put in a position where you need to actually kind of have to make a decision, your people skills, your leadership skills, your ability to work with your peers is going to become paramount. And I'll pick on Matt just because he caught my eye as I looked over here, right? If Matt ends up, we got 19 Susans. Okay, we got one more until you get your steak dinner. We got 19 Susans, right? And let's say Matt comes across a situation where we're trying to get something done, trying to get something fixed, and tuba A swears that it's going to be this way, and tuba B is absolutely the opposite. And now we've got a little bit of a conflict. Okay, we've got this little bit of a back and forth. Well, how is Matt going to solve that? You don't have to answer this out loud. But like, what do you got to do? You got two students, two members, two students, two friends, two colleagues, two peers in your section who are completely opposite, but they're standing their ground. What does the leader have to do?
You have to like completely understand like the situation that's going on and understand both viewpoints and be able to see where each person is coming from, and then go back to whatever materials that we have, because we have so much like between UDP and like the Scarlet Code, and like find something like concrete that will hopefully help show them both like what the right path would be, and just like hopefully get them to both be, like understand that it's not that big of a deal at the end of the day. Let's just like fix the thing and move on, because it's about just like moving forward and not about like who's the right person.
So what's a snooty vocab word that starts with an M?
No, I was not thinking.
You were like, I've got those.
You said that, and I was like, that's not the word I was thinking of. Can I say the word I was thinking
Go
of?
ahead.
Compromise.
Compromise,
Yeah.
okay? Good.
Mediation.
Mediation, right? Compromise, mediation, right? So you work together to creatively solve that problem, okay? So we all agree to work together, okay? I should have said this up front too. I say it every year when we do leadership training. In an organization, especially a large one, it's not expected that everybody has to be the best of friends. You know, like there's going to be people in here that are your best friends forever, and there's going to be people in here you probably never talk to. It's not expected that you have to like all of a sudden, like when you finally have free time, you know, go with every single person that, you know, that's not what it's about. But you do have to work together. So even though you might have a disagreement or a different viewpoint or whatever, that's cool, that's great. That's what makes us so special and unique, okay, and diverse, is that we can all accept and respect each other. Just got to work together for that common goal and compromise or mediate. I'll give you another example, okay? We have our guard captains here. Right now on the books, there's 46 students in the color guard. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, okay? So in your case, you clearly, there's no question about it, are going to have a very wide array of that's okay. You're gonna have members of the Guard who come in, have been doing this forever, and they spin indoor, and they do winter guard and all of that. You're gonna have some who maybe did it a little bit in high school, and you very well might have a student who comes in who hasn't done it before, but really, really wants to be part of what we're doing. What might be a challenge for the Guard captains in that situation? You're gonna have to what? Yep. Pretty much, right? How do you even the playing field? And creatively do what? Creatively make sure you're not overlooking the people who might be like on it, good to go, but not ignoring or not paying attention to the people who need extra help, right? So your skills in troubleshooting, I'll say, right? Your skills in saying like, okay, how could we best make sure that this group has got their thing and they're going, but we need to pay attention to this, and we really need to pay attention over here. That needs extra time and extra help, okay? So it's your skills to do compromise, mediation, troubleshooting, right? Some of it's logistical. We give the silly scenarios in interviews all the time, right? Bus is leaving in 15 minutes. You've got one of your members overslept. Another one is very sad and upset in the corner, and somebody's jacket and pants just bust open. What do? You know what I mean? Like, some of it's just silly logistical stuff, like, you know, in the old days, it used to be like, are you all right? Are you okay? You go for help. That used to be like, right? It's way over your heads, right? But it's your ability to say, like, it's almost 50 trumpets, right? So I look at Nate now. Maybe Nate has to say, hey, can you go help this person whose pants just ripped and see if we have another pair or we can get them patched up real fast? Can you go over here and make sure that that student's okay, and I'm going to take care of this, right? You can't do it all. It's impossible. I can't do it all. Dr. B can't do it all. You can't do it all. But what we can do is think logically and calmly about how to deal with situations that arise, how to diffuse things as they occur, okay? And this will be like the last part of my intro, and then we'll take a break and really see about getting this air on for you, is I want to talk to you a little bit about like the hierarchy slash, you know, kind of chain of command of how things are done, and really make sure that you understand the things that you can deal with immediately versus things that you should not try to handle by yourself, if that makes sense, okay? So the way that I always look at it is just think of it like a corporation, right? If there's like a CEO, COO, down to like, you know, managers to department to assistant to, you know, workers in the organization, it just kind of works in that structure, right? So essentially, you know, the end all be all is going to be with Dr. Baumanis and I as the directors of the marching band. Okay, so we are ultimately responsible for anything that happens within this organization, making sure to the best of our abilities, everybody's safe, cared for, and we're doing the job, okay? When you go from us, you come into the teaching staff and or graduate students, okay, graduate teaching staff, that whatever their assignment is, they're essentially here for a specific purpose, okay? If it's a percussion instructor, they're here to work with the battery or the front ensemble, the Guard instructor, they're here to work with the Guard, right? So if somebody from the wind section has a problem that's not really necessarily supposed to go to Dr. Baumanis right now, you don't go to the Guard staff and the percussion staff unless it's an emergency. You know, obviously, if somebody just fell and they're bleeding real bad and your first line of defense happens to be one of the battery instructors, that you go to like first aid, okay? But if it's like, hey, I lost my third valve slide, you know, for this trumpet, that's not something that you should be going to like a drum or Guard person for, and certainly not coming to us for, right? Operational things that you can handle, you guys are just you don't have to ask, okay? You do not have to ask. You can go to a staff member who's part of that, who oversees that section, so high brass, low brass, woodwinds, what have you, okay? If they're not around, go to one of the drum majors, okay? So it goes directors, teaching staff, drum majors, okay? And then it's you out to your sections, all right? So as long as you just clearly let everybody know that from the beginning, and we're having like a full out like welcome orientation, like we're not teaching on the 24th of band camp, like, you know, if you live on campus, you're gonna move in, and then we're gonna just have an orientation. And I'll tell this to everybody. But like, your members of your section should go to you first, and you try to solve it, okay? And I'll give you the when not to solve, but in a second, right? Instrument's broken, equipment's not working, someone forgot something, someone's late, someone overslept. That's all you guys, okay? You just diffuse that and take it. You do not have to ask permission. You do not need to wait to be told. You need to be proactive and do it, okay? If it's an equipment issue, you got Todd Vaccaro, and we now have an assistant equipment manager coming on board. So it'll be 2 people to help with all of our stuff. Okay, his name's Michael Vera. You'll meet him if you're here on Saturday. If it's a uniform thing, you're going to go to our Cracker Jack uniform team, okay? They're going to help you. If it's a music thing, you're going to go to the librarians, okay, and so on and so forth, all right? If it's anything other than that that you can solve, you're going to do it yourself or go to your teaching staff, okay, if it's a teaching kind of thing. The drum majors have a very challenging responsibility of having to walk and play many parts in the marching band, okay? They are essentially going to get directives from us that say, like, here's what we're doing, here's where we need to be, go make it happen, okay? Like, today was a prime example. When I woke up this morning and I saw what got added to our plate, I emailed the drum majors at 9 o'clock or whatever it was and said, listen, Dr. B and I are going to be in meetings. It might be pretty close to 12. Please make sure everybody's in the room. We'll be there as close to 12 as possible, right? So if the drum majors are saying something about mobility, setting up, moving, location, that's coming from us, okay? So you can just take it as like, okay, that's what we got to do. Here's where we go. They also have to work at like managing the setup and tear down of rehearsals along with the equipment people, managing the operation of the running of the rehearsal, any directives that we've given about like, hey, we have 3 hours today, we're trying to get this done in this order, right? So they've got all that to do, plus they're your first contact for all of the social things, okay? There's no sugarcoating. Like, it is amazing to have 354 members in this band right now, maybe even more. But there's going to be times when people don't get along. There's going to be times when people argue. There's going to be times when it's blah, 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 right? The drum majors are going to be the first ones who help you work towards solving some of those things, right? If student A and student B are just bickering, you need to try to figure it out first yourselves and not immediately come to Dr. Balmanis and I while we're trying to figure out all the other stuff. If it's an instrument thing, an equipment thing, a drill thing, a paper thing, a printing out thing, a uniform thing, that's all you. That should not come to us immediately. If you've tried 3 or 4 times and it's just still not working, still broken, still whatever, then you run it up the chain, okay? And of course we're going to help you. The only reason why you don't come to us first with that stuff is because all that you're dealing with, we have other stuff that we're dealing with that you don't need to be bothered with. Like, it's not, I'm not going to dump on you like what we have to do to make sure things function right. That, I'm not putting any stress on it. But that's why we can't handle the small stuff when we have our own big and small stuff. The cardinal exceptions to that rule are, okay, at any point in time, I don't care when it is, right? If there's a situation where a student is in danger, or it's a potential issue that involves their safety, their well-being, what have you, anything that has to do with drugs, alcohol, Title IX, anything that could possibly be a situation where the student is either in danger, God forbid, uncomfortable, something's not right, that needs to come to us immediately. That's not your job to figure that out, okay? It's your job to let us know, and literally just us, okay? Come to us, who are trained in those areas, to know what to do to make sure that whatever issue is going on, the student is immediately cared for, tended to, safe, and we go through the process of what needs to be done. Make sense? Okay? And then the other time is it's just general first aid. If somebody trips and falls and gets a giant gash in their leg, you got to find like the most close person and let's get that person tended to. You know, or sometimes things have happened. I've done this too long that I don't think you can come up with medical situations, sadly, that I have not dealt with at this point. At that point, okay, it's just genuine care of like first aid. Maybe we got to call the ambulance. Maybe we need to call RUPD and make sure that whoever is injured is taken care of immediately. That's a whoever you see first person kind of deal, all right? That includes, God forbid, a student has, passes out or has a seizure or has a reaction to medicine or a bee sting or something like that, EpiPen, the whole 9 yards. We just got to do what we need to do to get that student taken care of immediately, okay? So let me stop there because I threw a lot at you, all right? But ask me questions. Is anything so far, just in general, unclear about what your responsibility as a leader is? And it's okay if it is. That's why we're doing this. All kind of makes sense, right? Do you have any general questions so far, just about going into the season, going into the school year? Yeah, all figured out. We're doing all 46 guard are good, 47 trumpets are great.
Yes, we can go.
I had to steal 10 baritones from my kids' high school, so we have enough baritones.
Yay!
I did. I got us 10 silver ones that are all going to be good to go.
Good.
Do we have a list of like names and emails and other information for like the teaching assistants and graduate assistants?
Yes, and I will go over and clean it up, and I will get it out so everybody knows who's up.
Yeah, because we want to include it in like the student leadership.
Okay, sure. In no particular order, I'll try to remember the best I can off the top of my head. Obviously, you've got Dr. Balmanis and I, and if we go through the wind section, my goal was to have a teacher for every section. Okay, now whether that teacher is a grad student or just a music teacher, everyone's going to have one for their section. Okay, so the piccolos are actually going to be my wife. Okay, is now on staff. She has taught music for 20 years, 5 years less than me because she stayed home with Sarah and Emily for a while. But she's a pro flute player. She taught band the whole 9 yards, so she's going to be with us with the piccolos. Tim Hanley's going to be with us for the clarinets. Graduate student DMA Jared Apple is going to be with the saxophones. Okay, so he's going to be with us on staff. The high brass is going to be a combination of Mr. Hartzucker and Mr. Hilkema are back. Okay. We are bringing on the staff in a new capacity, but it's not finalized yet. I can't tell you how much or how little yet. Dan Orban, okay, who's going to be our visual person, but he's also a horn player, a very fine horn player. So hopefully he'll be also doing some work with the mellophones, okay. Low brass will have Mr. Cotter and Mr. Wilson are in their second year of their DMA study. Percussion has a very long list, okay. So Carlos is back. And Mark's going to be here a little bit. Tom Heyer is coming in. He's new. He used to be a member of the band. He's an alum, marching cadets and all of that. Joey Eccles is coming on staff with the tenors. And there's a couple bass techs. Tristan Shafron's coming back. So there's going to be quite a lot for the battery. Right now, just so numbers-wise, the battery is at like 40 or 41, and the front ensemble is at 31, which is kind of ugly. I'm not sure what we're going to do. So, and my kid's in that section. So, but Matt and Tom are back, and then we have Jen and Lewis are coming back, and a new member, PJ Tankard, is coming on staff for the guard. So 3 vet guard instructors. And the whole point is, and Chris Carey will be back, Todd Vaccaro will be back, and a new assistant equipment manager. His name is Michael Vera. All right.
He's an alum, and you've seen him at Jersey Mike's
Yep.
all the time. He stands in front of us. Like
Absolutely. The cool thing is we actually have been able to add a few people to the staff. All right, so that we can make it a very manageable thing. The last piece of the puzzle, as I continue to build the support staff, is we'll try to get a few more people on for visual and feet, okay, as well, so we can continue to do that. But one other thing I should have said along with that is, like, you're still responsible, don't forget, for helping teach what we do. All right, so setting dots and going over music and all of that. Some of us are going to have to do placements to listen to where people are level-wise to make sure we balance out parts, so we have the appropriate people in the right spot, so the sound is really good. Obviously, like, my thing is ensemble music. That's what I'm really into, and it's what I'm really excited about. You're going to flip when they're all here. It's not going to be until like the middle of band camp when we're finally all here and have played a little bit. You're going to flip when you hear the change in the sound of the group because of the amped up low brass, the depth in the trumpet section, the enhanced texture in the woodwinds, and the multiple, like, I don't know what the word is I'm trying to say, like blitz on the mid voice that is then supported by this huge battery, huge front ensemble, enhanced with everything that we do, it's gonna be different. It's gonna be in a great way. Like, you're gonna flip out. We're not sure we fit in the section that we normally sit right now. Got to figure that out. You know what I mean? So there's some learning curves and some to come along with the growth, but it's all in a good way. So you will have support to help you teach. Okay, so you're not left like, oh my God, what do I do? I can't see them all. Like, what do I do?
And just so you know, part of the reason why we were so late today is because we have this synergy meeting for football on Thursdays. And you go through the different, ticketing, what do you have, marking, and then the guy that runs the meeting, PJ, you've met him, he comes and stuff, he says, I'm gonna save the best for last with band. And it, like, everybody in that building in athletics is just blown away by the numbers. So you have support obviously from us, we have support from them, that's part of the reason why we're so late. So many people needed to talk to us about cool things because of our numbers. Nate?
This is just a completely random thought I had. For Scarlet Walk, are we going to be in the same spot we were last year?
We're gonna see if we fit.
Okay.
And if we don't, we have to redesign where we go. That is up for discussion.
Yeah.
We're not sure. Now listen, I can speak a little bit with a little bit more understanding now because Sarah just went through it Monday and Tuesday. She did the orientation thing and finally signed up for her classes. At least in her major, she's in SAS. There was great support for the band, which historically has not necessarily been the case. And the reason I'm telling you this is, like, we're in registration period right now for first year students. So I'm no dummy. Like, I know, like, it can change and it can dip if counselors and such tell them, like, no, you shouldn't do band, there's no way you can do it, there's no time, no time, no time. So far, through the registration period, we've been holding okay as far as those numbers are concerned, all right? So let's face facts. We could lose 30 people today and still be at 325, which last year we ended at 238, all right? So it doesn't matter where the number is, as exciting as it is to talk about, we're just simply gonna have more things to deal with. It's gonna be harder to move us, it's gonna take longer to feed, it's gonna take longer for breaks, it's gonna take longer to load and unload, it just is what it is, right? But that's not on you, that's on us to take care of it so you have what you need to do the job, okay, do the gig. And we are not changing philosophy, okay? We are not changing philosophy. We will rehearse efficiently so we don't waste a second of your time. Class is still only 3 days. We're not adding time. We're not adding days. We're not adding hours. We're adding nothing aside from more participants. The only thing that will change is the speed at which we do it. And that's got to be on me too. I tend to go, and now go have a great time. I got to make sure that I need to slow myself down so that I don't overload people who need a little bit more time for things to process. Which means, and this is a fine thing, you need to understand we're not bad or worse if we haven't accomplished as much up front. You know what I mean? So like if the first halftime show or two are a little bit shorter, that's fine. It's totally fine. They'll get longer as the year goes on. And if it means we got to work out a couple more kinks and a couple things for game 1 or game 2, which are in the same week, by the way. It's fine. Everything is, as Dr. Palmanis would say, everything is fine. Everything is fine.
That's a tomorrow issue.
That's right. Okay. Any other quick questions before we take a break? I do want you to get out of this heat a little bit.
No, just so you know, the chiller is broken for this building. They're bringing on a temporary chiller, whether or not that will come in the time that we're here.
Would it be?
That's a tomorrow problem.
I don't know if it's possible because of this. At some point, would it be more comfortable just to sit outside, or is that worse?
Probably depends.
Okay. That's fine. Well, here's what we'll do.
There's
Here's
at
what
least
we'll
a
do.
breeze.
Let's take a short break because I want Dr. Balmanis to have the time for her presentation, and let's power through faster, and maybe we'll just get you out of here. Okay, so you're not sitting here. Right.
It's also his birthday tomorrow.
Plus a lot.
All right, what do you think? 3 or 5? What do you want?
Why don't we take 7?
Whoa.
And come back at 11:05. All right, awesome.
Happy birthday!
Thanks.
What you want somebody in the MSK to once they've gone through a season with us. You're saying words like fulfilled, you're saying words like passion, right? So I want to just zone in on that a little bit, because a lot of what he sort of teed up is with a group of any size, whether it be like 3 or 350, there's going to be places where we don't agree, right? So we know that to be true. We're not just here to say like, it's going to be a problem and then bye, leadership training done. No, we're going to teach you how to potentially handle it. We're going to go through exercises about conflict resolution. We're not going to leave you high and dry if you're a little bit nervous about leading a group of your peers, right? I think that makes it harder. Sometimes I feel like it's easier for me to conduct like a community band because they're all people typically that are not of my generation. So I feel like it's just people in the ensemble and person on the podium. When it's a band of like my friends, and we all have like side conversations and inside jokes and they like know my history and like we grew up together, to me that's more nerve-wracking. Like there's more of a relationship to tarnish, right? So you are here as a leader to lead your peers. So we're gonna talk about and go through some exercises so that you're set up for success. Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is Leaders We Love, okay? Read this quote. Who wants to read out loud for the group? Go.
You can't lead others until you lead yourself. It's not what you can do, it's what you will do that makes you a leader. Leaders never get finished.
Yeah, so if you think that after leadership training and after MSK season, you're like, leadership, check, done. No, because what Dr. Nichols said, if you were on the street just wearing like a Rutgers whatever and somebody came up to you, let's say like you're vacationing in like the Pacific West or something, fancy, right? And what's the R for? Well, it's Rutgers. Okay, Rutgers, I've heard about it. What do you do, Rutgers? And then you become sort of the face and a spokesperson and lead through your love for this organization, right? You never get done. You just, to be a leader is not like a job. It is a characteristic of a human. So once you got this, all of you do, it's with you forever and ever, okay? Talk to me about what you see here. And if you were in leadership training last year, you saw this same thing. What pops out to you? Yeah, Dan.
Everyone is in it together. Like I'm kind of basing that on the kind of left corner. You know, you can be a leader and tell people what to do, but you can also lead by example and do it with them. And I think that's proactive leadership.
Yeah. Technically, they're still getting the work done, right? This, I think, goes faster. I think it's implied that they're going to get further, right? Lead through example, lead by doing with and not bossing around, right? You ever have that supervisor at work that you're like, we're cool outside of work, but when we're at work, like, I can't stand you, right? Same thing that goes from here. What else do you see? What about the fish? Yeesh. The fish always confuses me. But I guess what they're saying is that, oh, sorry, go ahead, Elena.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Okay. The fish, the red fish, I still don't know if you know me or not.
Go ahead.
Okay. The red fish in front stands out, but like at the same time, it looks like it's leading the charge and is like with the other fish in the same direction.
Yeah. It's not sitting in the back saying, all right, y'all swim for me, I'll just like catch the current. You're setting it up, right? Is that the same thing you were going to say?
Basically, yeah, I was also going to add that all the different fish in the school, all of them are diverse. Like, they're all different colors, they're all pretty much different shapes. And even though the one in the front is red, it's still kind of distinct. Like you said, they're still leading the charge, and they're still taking part in trying to achieve their common goal.
Yeah, absolutely. So while they're all different, they still have one goal to work towards. That's band. From the instruments to the ages to the personalities, like the one goal is always the same. What else? What else do you see up here? Yeah, Janet.
In the bottom left example, the boss is actually like adding to the weight instead of just telling him what to do. Like he's actively adding weight to the situation.
And that's like very true. Let's think about that supervisor again. That's like, you know, bossing people around. There's the added weight of social anxiety. There's the added weight of everybody can't stand your ass, right? And there's the added weight of how do we then fix the relationships that are broken because said person is fraying all the stuff, right? I'll tell you you what, when there's days that we have off days, it's like the hardest days ever. But when there's days that we have great rehearsals and everything's moving forward, it cancels out maybe 5 minutes of the negative. Cool? All right, so this is the activity part. I want you to think about a leader that you love, leader that you admire, okay? It doesn't need to be a teacher, it doesn't need to be a family member, it could be, it doesn't have to be, it could be anything, it's just somebody that you admire as a leader in your life, and I would like for you to tell somebody around you why. Let's take 10 seconds to solidify your thoughts, and then I'll say go, and you find somebody and you tell them why. And go.
Sorry. Okay.
Who's your?
Okay, my boss at work, she's like really nice.
Yeah, I'd say my
Never like
grandfather.
makes me feel bad about it, and she always thinks I have to do it in a better way.
Yeah, that man is just.
I played lacrosse in high school. My coach, it was never about how well we played. We all sucked, but that's okay.
Well, that's
But
really fun.
she was like always
Yeah,
like, you guys can do whatever you want. Just like, as long as you're nice to each other, if you're nice to each other, then like, this isn't gonna work.
Right, yeah.
Better person.
Right?
It really helps shape.
Wait, what's your name?
Oh, my name is Liv.
Liv, I'm beneath her.
What do you play?
Pick one.
Oh, you normally won.
Just trust me over you
She's
guys.
mine.
Trainer.
Yes, no, we know each other from high school.
Oh,
That's exactly.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, somebody, without telling me, if the person that shared with you who they loved, if they said, well, it's my mom, or it's this, or don't tell me, and don't tell the rest of us what that person is. But share some of the words that were used to describe somebody's leader. Yeah. Respect. Was. Wise. I was like, wise. Yeah. Understanding. Dedication.
Compassionate.
Conflict resolution.
Well spoken. Bubbly. What other words? Or those are kind of similar words. Yeah.
Hardworking.
Hardworking. Cool. If I were to tell you the leader that I love is curious, positive, and unafraid, would you know who my leader is? If you've already been through this with me and you know who it is, don't say it. It's my 7-year-old cousin. She is so like out there and curious, and I swear like if she could just jump off whatever, she would. And me in my fear-ridden, like, oh my gosh, don't break anything, oh my gosh, am I breaking your rules? I wish I could have more of that. So she leads with positivity and happiness. And it's something that I admire, and it's something that inspires me to be a little bit more trusting of my gut. Like, you know what? You've been on this earth for years, and haven't killed anybody or yourself. You're okay. Go forward, right? So, in order to do this, sorry,
Hey, I caught it. We're good.
in order to do this, in order to be a leader, okay, how many of you, when you talked around and said, oh, it's somebody that I could trust, somebody that understood me, right? I think that the one common denominator between all leaders is that they're trustworthy. You trust them, you put their confidence in them to lead you, right? All those pictures that we showed had some sort of element of trust as well. So I did this with some music ed students in one of my classes this past spring. And in order for you to lead and have the trust of the people in your section, right, you have to show that you are a trusted keeper of their words, and that they will be open and letting you know what they need, what help they need. It's if you've ever had like a family member or a boss where you're like, well, I'm afraid to like say these things, I'm afraid to bring this up because we don't want that to be for you. We want your section to be able to come to you at any point and say, I trust them with their opinion, their guidance, their wisdom, blah, blah, let's go, right? So we're gonna go through this. It's gonna take a little bit of seat moving, okay? What I want you to do right now, and hopefully we come up with an even number, is I want you to go pair off 2 people with somebody that you don't usually hang out with. They're not in your section, okay? And you're gonna do this in 15 seconds. Go!
Yeah.
Tools to help with that process as well. A lot of what you're going to be doing is the teaching of, right? Even if you aren't a drill advisor or a section leader, but you are a leader in some other capacity, whether it be a uniform, social media, webmaster, music librarian, right? You as a upperclassman veteran player will be leading at some point. If you see your section leaders struggling because their section is a bazillion people deep and they need some assistance, jump in, okay? This is your full go to help those who need a little bit more hands. Make sense? So let's talk about just a couple of tools that you can have in your toolbox when you do need to use them for teaching music and marching rehearsals, okay? This seems really easy, but you would be surprised at how many times I see like fully like tenured and a bazillion doctorate people not get this, okay? Task analysis. You begin at the beginning and then you move at the pace of your audience, okay? So what is task analysis? Anybody ever heard that term before? It's kind of like a corporate engineering, actually I think it's from architecture. Anybody hear task analysis? Yeah.
Isn't it just kind of like assessing the issue and seeing what needs to be done?
Yeah, you're saying, this is our goal, this is what we're gonna do for the goal, and here's how we're gonna do it, okay? Then begin at the beginning. I can't tell you how often I get annoyed where people are like, okay, but like, we gotta do this, right? Well, before you fix that, there's like, before you put up the bridge, the whole like cement for the road that the bridge is going to be a part of doesn't exist. Maybe we need to take care of that first, right? So task analysis, part of understanding the problem is understanding where it starts and what is attainable and how far you can get. Because you have to move at the pace of your audience. Dr. Nichols opened up with that. It is awesome that we're giant. Giant things move slower. It doesn't make us any worse. It doesn't make us any less talented. I would say that if it comes up that somebody's like, well, our halftime shows are like, so short, and like when I marched like Blue Devils this season, like I was experiencing that, and now this, what BS? Okay, listen, apples and oranges, all right? Also go fan, but also like to be able to do what we do at our level and be this size, like just the fact that we've gotten so many numbers in 1 year is a huge accomplishment. That alone starts our level of awesomeness up here. And then it just moves more with our performance, okay? So we are already starting at a high level. But this is really important. Understand the problem. Say, we're gonna work on this. This is the task at hand. We're gonna work on this. Let's start here. And then every so often, you gotta check in. And you gotta see, okay? Now, a couple questions that might pop up when you're doing group work or group sectionals, and you notice that there's a handful of people in your section that are still falling behind. At what point do we continue to work with those people within the section? Or at what point do we pull them out for a side sectional? How long do you think? Let's say, for example, we're working at my color guard knowledge is so we're working on drop spins. I know that term, okay? Drop spins.
Keep it in the toaster.
Keep it in, thumbs down, thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs up, thumbs down, right, yeah, okay. Let's say that there are 2 people out of the section of 80 that you have that are not getting it. How long do we keep the group going drop spins before we pull those 2 people out to have individual time? What's the time, you think?
3 times with the group?
Yeah, I think if it's like we do, because we usually do 100 drop spins at a time. So like if we do like 2 of them and that person's still struggling, I would say we would take them out to give advice. But it's not like anything like we would like take them out and be like, oh, like just practice over here, or like we'll help you over here. It's more like we give tips like in block. and then tell them to do it a couple times, and then we see like that, and we continue the block after that. So it's like,
Absolutely. What I love about what they just said is that they're not singling that person out. Remember, that could be like very traumatic, like, oh, I'm not, they're coming over here, don't look at me, right? That's a really real thing. So to be able to give feedback, that's general feedback to the group, that is something that this person needs in that moment, right? That is giving great advice to the group, knowing that that person is really missing that piece of advice. And then perhaps one of the leaders would go over as they're in group. And then maybe at the next water break, we say, listen, I want to take you guys over here and just make sure we got it going, right? So that you're not in front of the group saying, all right, it's not working out, Jamie, let's go. Okay? That's a very, very good leadership style. Okay, you want to make everybody feel comfortable, but you also want to give them the tools to succeed. By the nature of what we do, we're in the nature of perfection, which is something that's actually unattainable, right? But we are shooting for the best, most perfect performance, knowing that it doesn't exist. Because AI is not going to take over the world, regardless of what they're trying to do, right? So knowing that with trying to perform at a high level, there's always going to be criticism and critique. So you have to be careful about the delivery, you have to be careful about how it's accepted, all the things that we talked about before, right? Okay, very, very good. Move at the pace of your audience. If you have some that need a little bit extra help, that's why we have multiple. Did you notice that our leadership team grew in excess? It's because we knew that this band was going to blow up. Okay. So, am I too far? Oh no, I turned off. All right. Yeah, music ed kids are like, I know what this means. Okay, so here is a very, I think it's like the most practical way to teach not only people music, but when I raised all of my 15-year-old cousins, I'm one of the older cousins, and they're all born and just shipped off to another cousin, and you need to teach them not to be a-holes. That's what my family is. I've used rehearsal frames or teaching frames to make sure that they're comprehending what I'm trying to teach them. This is a way to check that your section has understood the lesson that you're trying to teach them, okay? So, it's a triangle. There's 3 parts. First one is teacher instruction, okay? Then student response, teacher feedback, back to teacher instruction, and this is a very short, quick distance, okay? I'm sorry I made the triangle. What's that equal out of? Sorry, math was, I'm music, okay. This is important. So let's talk about these all at the same time. Okay, first one, teacher instruction. For example, play B-flat concert scale. Do a drop spin. Play a paradiddle. I play clarinet. I used to play the clarinet. That's about as far as I went. I'm a recovering clarinet player. Okay? Recovering. Teacher instruction. Very simple, very concise. Play the B-flat concert scale. Student response. Okay. From here, they're going to respond. They're going to play the B-flat concert scale. While they're playing, you're going to be listening and seeing what your task at hand is now going to be. Okay? Oof. They're playing the B-flat concert scale. Okay. Well, this note sounds out of tune. They didn't start together. It's kind of a weak sound, so they didn't take it right. You're diagnosing, and you're going to prescribe a solution. Okay? You're listening, and you're going to give a fix of how to fix the problem. Okay? That's all happening while you're listening to them do what you've asked them to do. Okay? From there, you give them feedback. You say what went well, what we need to improve upon, and how we're going to do that. 3 parts, really important. What went well? See how we start? What went well? What we need to improve upon. Not what sucked or what was BS. No. What we need to improve upon and how we do that. Okay? This is really important. I tell my students in my band, if I ever say good job and give them no specifics, they'll raise their hand and say, good job on what? Because I wasn't specific. Amelia could have missed that whole entire exercise, and I said, good job. She's like, okay, I guess it was a good job. I'll just stop playing, right? You want to make sure that you're specific in your feedback, okay? It was great that all of you started all together. Fantastic. I think we can improve on our fullness of our sound. How we do that? We take a bigger breath and we play louder. Let's try it. Do you see how that worked? It was very fast, it was very efficient, it was very clear and concise. All right? Then, let's try it. They do it, they took your feedback into account. While they're responding, you listen again for the next task. Okay, now they played together and they have a big sound, but it's still out of tune, especially on like that fourth note. All right, bigger sound, better breath. That was amazing. I like that volume. That fourth note is flat. When you get to that fourth note, use your ears and think eyebrows up for that pitch. Let's try it. What went well? What needs to work on? How we get there. Is all this making sense?
Yeah.
Okay. This, when people research how effective a teacher is, they look at teachers and they look at rehearsal frames. This is specific to a band. A guy at UT Austin, Bob Duke, created this whole thing. And he says master teachers will close like 60 rehearsal frames. Like boom, 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 boom. And new teachers, new leaders maybe get like 1 or 2 in, right? Because they're testing it out. And where they usually fall short is this area from here to here. Either because they're not specific, good job, okay, let's try the F concert scale, right? Or they don't give the students an opportunity to respond to their feedback. We played the B flat concert scale, it was okay, it was a little bit too soft for my liking, make sure you take a big breath, we'll do that next time. Okay, next thing, they're not going to remember right after you said those instructions what you said because we're already on to the next thing. You didn't give them an opportunity to try it out. Make sense? Okay, so remember this because our last activity together is the following. You're going to try it out, okay? You don't have your instruments and that's okay. We're going to just like pretend, all right? Maybe you have sticks, I don't know. You're going to pair off with somebody, again, who's not a part of your section. And you're going to teach them, if you want to change it a little bit and teach something that's if you want to teach them how to conduct, that's fine by me. But you're going to practice rehearsal frames. You're going to say, okay, task analysis. Dan, I'm going to teach you how to conduct 4/4.
Yes.
All right, let's go.
All right.
Let's go. All right. Can you please show me 4/4? I love that it was in tempo and in time, and you gave a really big cue, okay? Be careful about your posture, because you want to lead with confidence. So do the same thing, but upright more. Let's try it. Yeah! I loved your posture. That was so much better. We're ready to move on to 3/4. Do you understand? Okay, so I said what went well. I said something that we need to improve upon because I totally freaked you out. You're like,
Oh no, it's okay.
yeah. But you did it, and I said great job on what? The posture, reinforcing the task at hand. Now we move on to the next step. Does all this make sense? All right. So I'd like for you to pair up with somebody that doesn't play your similar instrument, and you're going to choose something to teach them and practice rehearsal frames. Ready, go! What you led your exercise.
Okay, so today I led my partner in learning how to do a matched grip on a stick for drumline. So we have 2 grips that we do. We do traditional grip, which is this hard thing right here, and then we do matched grip in our right hand. So what you want to do? I teach them, or do I kind of go through?
You be the demonstrator, and you're going to teach the group.
Okay. So we have a flag on our stick. This is a traditional Vic Firth stick. It has a flag on it. So you always want to like keep your hands like this, and then what you're going to do is you're going to wrap your thumb and your pointer finger around the inside of the flag, and you're just going to hold the stick like this. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to slowly wrap your pointer finger around the stick, and then same thing with your middle finger. This is what you call your fulcrum. Your back 2 fingers, I don't want to say don't really matter, but they're kind of there to just relax and kind of give support to the stick. This is the most important feature of holding a matched grip for drumline. And then you always want to keep, this is a big thing, you always want to keep your thumb on the side of the stick. You don't want it out, you don't want it like too much in, because then you're going to get like carpal tunnel and it's not a fun time. So you want to keep your thumb on the side of the stick, and basically, realistically speaking, you should be able to play the drums with this grip, but playing the drums like this, we're not British, we don't do this. So we're going to wrap the back 2 fingers around our stick. You never want to play with force, so you want to keep your fulcrum nice and relaxed so you have resonance.
I don't have a pad, but there's a difference between what you hear on the field and a difference between the tension and relaxed grip. So I don't know if this is fine. So you'll notice that when you're nice and relaxed, the sound actually resonates. So it sounds like this. See how that is so like resonating? That's because your grip is very relaxed. It's easier said than done, but of course, if you have the right grip between your 3 fingers at the front, you'll be able to play. If you're too tense, it'll sound like this. And you can tell because the stick is not bouncing. You want the stick to come back to its original position. So it's kind of like throwing a ball. You want to have velocity, but you don't want to have force because then you're going to, tighten the resonance, and it's going to be excruciating for you because if you go through 3 months marching like that, it's going to hurt your fingers. So that's pretty much how you hold the stick in match grip. Always keep the thumb on the side, wrap your 3 fingers around it, and then you're just going to have the last 2 fingers relaxed, and that's how you hold traditional match grip. Yeah.
I'll say 2 of the things she immediately corrected me on was isolating the movement to only my wrist so that my arm is not doing any of the work, and also using velocity to like let the stick return to its position like when it hits the ground versus like actually bringing it up.
Yep. You want to have your wrist do most of the work instead of your arm. Of course, if you're playing very loud like we normally do, we're going to use arm and stuff like that. But when you're trying to learn drumline and trying to play the drums for the first time, we always want to isolate just your wrist first because that's where you're going to turn first. You're not going to turn from your arm. That's going to be really weird. You want to turn from your wrist instead of going like that's really weird and awkward, and honestly, you're going to hurt your shoulder doing that. You want to just isolate your wrist, and then, yeah, that's pretty much how you play snare line. So now you all can join. Yeah.
What's awesome about this is that we all kind of have a task analysis background because Ashley did such a great job of saying, this is what I taught, these are the most important components of it, here's why it's important, and demonstrate it, right? The last thing I want you two to do is I want you to go through a teaching frame and just teach maybe a stroke or whatever so that we could see how you give the student, the instructor, or the instructions, see the student feedback, and then, or the student response, and then give your teacher feedback.
Okay, so teach him how to hold the stick and then like show him how to play. And
why don't you?
I do it and then she gives me
feedback. Yeah. Yeah. Why don't you? Yeah.
Okay, I love what you're doing with your 3 fingers. That's a really great grip. The one thing that I want you to recognize is the importance in your back fingers and keeping that on the stick. That way it'll allow the beginning, like the top of the stick, to return to its natural position so you have more support when it goes back up. That's much better. Yeah, that's much better. And then try to isolate your wrists a little bit more. Right now you're doing a great job with, using a little bit of your arm, but you're tightening your grip around the stick because you're not using your wrist as much. So try using your wrist a little bit more and also follow through with your arm. Don't follow through with your arm first. Follow through with your wrist and then go with your arm. Yep.
What was really good about this is that you did what was good, what needs to be fixed, and how you do it, right? I love the very end where you're trying to explain, you want more wrist, but you want to follow through the end. Like it seemed like it was a lot of words, right? You summed it up beautifully at the very end. You said, so wrist, follow through with the arm. So all this to say, in the little triangle where it says the teacher feedback should be concise, challenge yourselves to see if you could do a summary that's around 5 to 10 words, but lead with demonstration. Okay, demonstration is key. A lot of people are more visual than listeners for their learning, but if you pair the 2 together with concise words, it's going to be so much more impactful. As soon as you said what you said at the very end, got it right away. Yeah. Hey! Who else learned something new and would like to show off what they learned? People are averting the eye contact. comfortable learning how to conduct? Let's go!
So basically, we just went over like the foundational things you need, like where your personal focal point should be while you're conducting, and then how to just conduct a basic 4/4 pattern. So first, we just kind of like went over like how I try to help people find like their relaxed point of where they should be holding their hands. So first, you just pretend you're going out and hugging a tree, and then just let your arms kind of relax into that position. And then in that plane should be kind of like where you're holding your hands. And in this position, you want to make sure that you're keeping everything as relaxed as possible. You only want to stay like as activated with your muscles as you need to be to stay there. There shouldn't be tension. And then from here, before even going into the 4/4 pattern, we just like beaded in the same spot. So making sure you're staying in that same focal point area that we just placed our hands into, and practicing just beating on that spot, and imagining like you're just tapping a hot stove. So it's just like, ow, ouch. And just like really mimicking that like really fast sort of like flicking movement. Like if you've ever touched something hot, it's scarily accurate to how you should be conducting in your focal point. So just like doing that beating motion. So yeah, and so what Evan's doing here, I really like that. What he is doing is he's staying very consistent, and before he was struggling with like keeping tension out of his shoulders, and we've kind of removed that. But what I want to see you do is kind of stay on this plane here. Like go back to remembering, like keep your fingers glued to the wall in front of you, and just stay up and down rather than bringing your hands back. Yeah.
Yeah, what?
So you're doing better at keeping your hands sort of in that same vertical plane, and you're not bringing your hands back as much anymore. And then, so to go into the 4/4 pattern, you're going to beat down 1, and then on the rebound, so 1, and then rebound back up halfway, go back down 2, come inside, down 3, go outside, 4, and then come back in. And your hands are going to go super high to be dramatic for coming back down for 1 again. Because 1 is the most important spot. It's where you can catch back in. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And yeah, so the pattern is really clear, and you're keeping your focal point kind of in the same spot the whole time. But now you've lost like the bounce in your hands. So maybe try to like challenge yourself to go like, it's easier to do it like a little bit faster to when you're first starting to like feel the bounce in your hands, to try and like bring that back. Yeah, so going a little faster, your hands are like able to relax a little bit. I'm seeing the bounce come back more. And so I like the bounce and I like the pattern, but what arm is this? Your right arm is going a little higher than your left arm. So stay very aware of both of your hands and try and keep them mirrored the whole time. Yeah, you're doing a much better job of keeping it mirrored.
Amelia closed 5 frames. Boom, 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 in that one lesson. And it may have felt like it was like getting into detail, but that's what it's about, right? The reason why the MSK plays so well is that we focus on these things in the detail, right? Was it very easy to follow the instructions? Yeah, and it's bite-sized things, but every bite is a really delicious bite. Good job.
Yeah.
I like turned and everybody's eyes went. Does anybody else want to share? I saw some trumpet playing, I saw some like thumbs up, thumbs down, drop spins.
I mean, if I had a flag, it'd be so much easier. It's just
I know,
It's just
yeah.
not really.
Where's that lead pipe that I found earlier?
I haven't seen it.
Wait, unless like.
I don't think it's a lead pipe, it's just like a metal rod. So, I mean, honestly, the core of this is what? What was the ultimate goal of this? Was it to convert you to drum majors and or percussionists, if you weren't already? Jaden says yes, okay. What was the core of this? Yeah, Matt?
How to be able to give someone the instruction they need precisely and efficiently.
Yeah, because remember, we rehearse 3 times a week. If somebody has a class conflict that they can't avoid, they're going to be missing for one of those days, right? So the information and how fast we move is only going to be dictated on how efficient and concise you are with your teaching. It's going to be fast, but it's going to be small bits so that it's digestible. Make sense? This is a great, I keep on pointing like it's the thing. This is honestly what I do with any group that I teach to make sure that they comprehend and retain the lesson so that we can move forward from there. How many of you have ever like crammed for a test and then like something happens and the next day you're like, I don't know where all that knowledge went? Yeah, it's because it was too much. It's like drinking from a fire hose, too much, right? If you check in as you go, right, small here and there, then people will retain and understand.
Yeah, short and concise is really the best way because there's only so much one can process before it gets lost, you know what I mean? That's why repetition is important because repetition builds consistency, right? So when you give a short instruction that's concise with a precise reason for it and then move on and then try to repeat that, that will stick more than trying to go onto a very long diatribe with flowery explanation and adjectives and adverbs and I'm talking and talking, you're already zoned out. You know what I mean? So sometimes it's really important to pace it quick, succinct, efficient, precise, repeat.
And if words are not getting across, what do? Demonstrate, model, 1000%. You could say, play it like this, and then you play it like that, and babies know how to mimic. Okay, so if words are failing you, demonstrate. You're going to be worlds beyond on your instrument, on your equipment, than many of the people who are coming in. So already they're going to be mesmerized. Any questions about today? What we should have gotten today in this small training is a couple of really powerful tools for your leadership toolbox. Okay? Conflict resolution was most of what we focused on today. Because honestly, with a group of any size, but especially a big one, everybody's coming from a different background. Some of these students that are showing up to be first years maybe came from a very competitive program. Some people maybe only marched one parade. The beautiful thing about MSK is that we don't have auditions. One of the things we have to do for that challenge is accept everybody from where they are and move at their pace. So there's such a large variety, okay? So communication is key. Concise communication, intentful listening, and always being careful with how you deliver your message. You want to deliver it in a way that most people can receive it. And when one person doesn't receive it well, which will happen, you have some tools to take care of that as well. Make sense?
Oh, yeah.
That's actually a perfect segue into the last thing that I want to talk about. So one of the things that I think is both a blessing and a curse is how organized we are with what we do, but also how detail-oriented this organization is. And that's a testament to the membership. I would say right now the thing that had impressed me the most from when I started teaching here that still to this day impresses me beyond measure is the sheer brilliance of the students who attend this university, okay? And just the incredible sense of just very strong minds, okay? With that comes a lot of expectation that if you tell me what to do, I'm going to do that exactly as I was told to do it. That's good, but it also can go the other way and become a crutch to use as an excuse that I wasn't given the information that I'm supposed to be given. So what I want to talk about in this last little bit is initiative. Okay? What do you think when I say initiative?
Being able to kind of predict what's coming next and just going ahead and doing it.
Okay? What else?
Having the motivation to be better.
Having the motivation to be better. Excellent.
Just not being afraid to take action.
Very good. Not being afraid to take action, right? So this is like a real life example. Okay? We had announced that there was a meeting a long time ago. Time went by. I checked in with Chris and Dr. B, and I was like, we did remind everyone, right? They're like, yes, it was reminded. Then an announcement went out on July 12th. But then at about like 9:30, 10 o'clock last night, I'm getting panicked emails that information was never sent out. And people never got it. And it wasn't, the communication is lacking again. Once again, we have lacking communication. We do not have lacking communication. 9:30 at night, less than 12, or a little bit more than 12 hours before a meeting, is that really the best time to realize that we didn't check in on our responsibility to take the initiative to look ahead in our calendars and check to see what's up? So sometimes, it's partly my fault. We map out stuff for you so to the second that you actually don't have to. Report at this time, take your instrument at this time and move to this spot. You're going to do this activity from this to this time. You're going to have this many minutes to go drink water. You're going to have this many minutes to go to the bathroom. You're going to come back and do these activities. Then you're going to go back and have lunch. You don't have to think. So then people become almost, to be honest, desensitized to the fact that someone else is doing the thinking for you. Now, being organized and giving that information is essential. It's critical. But it's the common thread throughout today's training. How that information is received and what you do with that information is where we need to really work on building you as the leadership by modeling the initiative, by modeling the behavior, by looking ahead and realizing stuff's coming down the road. You got to start passing that down to the members in your sections. Not coming back and saying, well, nobody told me that there was a meeting today. Nobody told me that it was going to start at 12:30 because I was told I was going to get a schedule that told me that it was going to be that. Which you did. You just didn't get it in the way that you wanted to. You being rhetorical, not the people who are sitting here in front, right? And you'd wait whomever waited too late and then had to like do the backpedal thing and be like, well, it's somebody else's fault because they didn't tell me what I was supposed to do. And especially in the leadership role, you have to take the initiative. We say this all the time, and I'll say it until I'm not teaching anymore. This is not my band, not her band, it is your band. That's why it's so successful. That's why we are where we are right now. Because you have built it into what it is. Do we help guide it? Yes, of course. That's our job. You need teachers. You need people who help guide it and push it along and teach you skills, whether it's leadership or marching or playing or anything in between. Absolutely. But at the end of the day, I marched in a high school band. It was not that good. It was nothing like this. But I had that band. That was my band, right? I didn't go to a college that had a marching band. Didn't march drum, right? That was my journey. This is your journey that you have this incredible thing. Rhetorical you has to start taking the initiative. And rather than wait to be told what to do, I would love it to see if you start getting the ball rolling and showing each other's what needs to be. And that could be anything from checking out what's happening in the schedule, checking the weather, checking whether or not the music is in the drive for what we're doing in rehearsal, have the drill charts been uploaded to UDB, etc., etc., etc. All that stuff, if you take the initiative to do, should be done when? What do you think? When should that be done? I like the
If it's something like a drill chart, maybe even be like 24 hours anywhere up to practice.
Okay.
just because sometimes we get things like
Yep,
literally at practice, but yeah.
okay, good.
You just say a blanket as soon as possible?
Absolutely, yeah. As soon as you possibly can, knowing that sometimes we wait for deliverables from people outside our organization, and if they come in late, they come in late, we have to suck it up and do it. Sometimes we have information well in advance. What do you think, you pretend to be the band director right now. What do you think is one thing that I'm already thinking, I'm nervous that this won't get done in a timely manner because of our growth in enrollment? What do you think I'm worried about is going to take a really, really, really long time?
Instrument distribution?
That's not the top thing, but it's a good guess. Putting together the Macy's performance. Yeah, I've got some nerves about that, to say the least.
I was going to say get pregame on the field.
A little bit. Something easier than that.
Traveling as a band, like packing things up and
Yeah.
moving from location.
I'm a little nervous how long it's going to take us to move and get from point A to point B.
Making sure everyone is registered properly.
You're missing a biggie, man, and we need this.
Eating?
If eating is absolutely, that's number 2 for me right now, is how long is it going to take us to eat?
Just that band camp goes smoothly and, you know, everyone is well hydrated and healthy for it.
Yes, I do, no, that's always, health and safety is always the first. This is something I'm nervous is going to take a really long time to get done, and if we don't get it done, it's going to be not so great. The uniforms.
I wasn't thinking that. I was like, I don't think it's
I thought it was food. I was trying to get the clues. It was like,
Yeah.
eating.
Why? Because the uniform fitting is this arduous, difficult, challenging process to make sure you find the right jacket, the right pants. Then you have to make alterations. Then you got to make sure all the parts are there. What if parts are missing? And now we've got new helmets, and now we've got this. I'm nervous about how long it's going to take to do the uniforms. So I need to take the initiative that I usually wouldn't get the ball rolling on uniform fittings and such until about the middle of August. I need to start Saturday. And I need to talk with uniform managers about, like, we need a plan to make sure that we are doing what we need to do, and does that mean we need to add more time? Does that mean we need to ask people to come in? What do we need to do to make sure that you all have what you need? Okay? That's something I need to take the initiative on. Things that you all need to take the initiative on could be what? Give me some things, because there are a lot now. We're coming into August and it's almost time to start.
Like the retention with members who've joined and communicating with them, so they are coming to our summer rehearsals and yeah.
Yeah, it's exactly right. In the most simplest form, might the leadership team start to take the initiative to wake up the members of your section from their summer slumber? How many of you have people in your sections who are just like incognito, not checking email, and you're like, man, I hope they're still around, right?
Yeah.
Right? So, option A, call them on August 23rd and let them know band camp starts on August. Sectionals and little of anything together. The thing at the end is more just to get a feel for, like, can I just hear where we're at with what we've got right now? Let me hear bells, let me hear Colonel, and that's it. And then we'll get the technology is here. They've been delivered, and we're creating accounts and all that kind of stuff. And then by the second pre-camp rehearsal, we should be in good shape to try to get it rolling. And we take the second and third one to make sure the tech is good, and then we use it officially all together. So some of you might help us field test it.
Will the front ensemble have E-flip stands for the Certos, and are we still going to be using the Certos?
I don't know if we're even still using those. Matt and I have to talk about that, because I'm not even sure we fit just us, let alone with those. So we have to talk that through. And for right now, for halftime, you'll do the same thing you always do. We have music stands on your mallets and all of that. So there should be no need for, like, on the field for pregame or halftime to do anything. Stands we have to talk about, because I'm not sure.
I have 2 questions.
Yeah.
This is just, I feel like, a silly logistical thing for me. So, like, if I have all of my, like, stand music memorized and I'm not using my phone, are we still gonna get some kind of signal that like, or so
Yeah,
am I supposed to like
it
look
should-
at somebody else?
You should
if I
just
read
look
it?
at the person next to you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, because it's still gonna be really difficult, depending on where you are, to catch some of the stuff with as fast as the games move these days. So you just have to watch your neighbor.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. If you haven't memorized, that's even better.
This will also be the system that we use for pep band. So
Yep.
it should be able to press and then.
It
scan your
just, it
finger.
actually, it isn't, it's actually just a matter of conditioning. It just, unfortunately, you can't not pay attention. You have to actually really be engaged in what's going on. All right, what else?
Are we allowed to pay our fees before we leave today?
Yes. We will collect them at the end. Anything else? Okay, here's the last task at hand. As fast as we can, so we can get you out of here, we need to, I'm going to give it to you to decide as a team. This is a little bit of an exercise as well. The following things need to get done before we leave today. We need to check the end hallways, of which I have a key and Dr. Valmanis has a key. There should be boxes of music stands in those last couple rooms on the right. Let's see what we got. If not, there are a whole bunch downstairs. I prefer to not go downstairs if possible and just use what we have on the first level. So we need to get some stands ready for Saturday's rehearsal. The instrument room will be open. You need to go in and take a count and check what's going on with instruments for your section. Okay, guard, you're going to go ahead and take account of what we have for practice flags and gear. Percussion, you're going to go, and it's probably impossible to like organize because there's just nowhere to move in there, but double check and try to make it so that we can get stuff quick on Saturday. Snares through battery and front ensemble. I need 1 or 2 people to help me. We have 13 boxes in the uniform room that need to come out that I'm going to take out of here that I need to ship back. And then in the uniform room, we don't necessarily need to do too much, but we're going to have to eventually, we have to move some stuff around. We have a delivery of band uniforms, guard uniforms, and helmets that is making it almost impossible to move in there, all right? So you need to make sure there's instruments for your section, music stands. We're going to get 13 boxes out of the uniform room, okay? And we'll collect fees and all that. We'll collect fees from the office, okay? So that's the very last thing you should do before you split, do all the other stuff, and then you can come in and pay your fees and we'll check you off. We'll go 1, 2.
We also need to record a really cool video with Jaden.
Fine, that sounds great.
I thought the schedule said we're getting our instruments today. Is that happening or no?
Let me wait till Todd's here, because I wrote that before Todd actually went and prescribed like who gets what serial number and stuff, I believe. So yeah, we'll do that Saturday.
Thank you.
Excellent question. And go.
Eat munchkins, please.
Oh yeah, eat munchkins.
Ashley.